naturally strong attraction. So he didn't have to do any sadhana. He was already a pure devotee. He's born pure. And it also says that he was attracted, in the Purana, it says he's attracted to the Lord who wears a yellow cloth. So then it is indicative that he is attracted to Krishna, according to some Vaishnava acharyas. And then because in the same Vishnu Purana, in the next verse, it mentions the word Krishna. The word Krishna. And so they were saying he must be attracted to Krishna. Then some other Vaishnavas say in the beginning he was attracted to Vasudeva. Then when he saw Narsinghadev, he got attracted to Narsinghadev, like that. But it also says he was embraced by Govinda also. So like that. So therefore Prabhupada here says his attachment for Narsinghadev was attachment for Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, like that. And Rajakripa Prabhu wanted to know how this happened. How is it that he had, there is in the Brihan Narasingha Purana, it says that at one, when Narsinghadev came, after he is killed and so on, Prahlad Maharaj asked him, how did I get this affection and love for you? How is that possible? So he was asking that. So then the Lord then, having heard the question from him, then described to him that in his previous life, he was born in a very good family, very elevated Brahmana. But he was not really so into following. He was the youngest son, so he didn't follow properly. But he was attached to a prostitute. Okay, but for some reason, he and the prostitute had a quarrel on Narsingha Chaturdasi on that day. So when they had that problem, they became angry with each other, and so they wandered in the forest. And then they were wandering, and so each one wandered different place, and they got lost, And then the whole day they did not get to eat and drink anything. So after a while, they came to this mandap place in the forest, broken down place. So they stayed there, then they saw each other, then like, okay, all right, but they didn't eat anything, and then they stayed overnight. The whole night, and then they didn't sleep also because they were thinking of each other a lot, like that. So that day, because they observed full fast, even though it was unknowingly, and then they didn't drink anything, they observed fast everything. They got Lord Narsinghadeva's blessing, and also the place they came was an old Narsinghadev temple. So they got a lot of blessing, and so in their next life, she became an Apsara. And then she also did devotional service and went back to Vaikuntha. And he took birth as Prahlad Maharaj, like that. So that is the short version of the story. And of course, how was he? And so when. Let me tell you something. So in the same Purana, it is explained that Hiranyakashipu was going to do this severe austerity. So the demigods tried to stop him also. They went and then they were discussing how to do. So Narada Muni said he will go and fix him and deal with the whole situation. I have a plan, he said. So he said, okay, let's let you do that. So what happened was, with Parvata Rishi, his best friend, they went. So then at that time he was starting his, about to do his austerity. So when he was doing his austerity, Narad Muni and Parvata Rishi on a tree, they became a birds. And then they started chanting, Om Namo Narayana, like that. Om Narayana, like that. So when they started chanting like that, this Hiranyakashipu, he couldn't stand the word Narayana. So he broke his, and he was so agitated, he tried to chase and kill the birds, but the birds flew away, with their mystic potency. So then he went back home, frustrated. And then at that time, he saw his wife, and then his wife said, "Why are you back?" Then anyway, he got attracted to his wife, and so they became very intimate. So when he was in intimate, he was still thinking of the Narada Muni, the mantra. So he chanted the mantra at that time. So the child was conceived with him chanting the mantra. Yeah. So that is another. It is said like that. So I thought it was, since you asked, I'm telling you the story. Text 37.
Yasya kridanko balo
Nyascha kridanko balo
Jadavatan
manastaya
Krishna graha grihitatma.
Why are you changing the tune?
I don't know. I'm not getting the tune. Everything's weird. So what is the tune, Prabhuji?
Well, standard tune. Nyasta kridanako balo Jadavatan manastaya Krishna graha grihitatma Naveda jagati drisham. Okay, the next time the Siddha will chant. Siddhu. We will do it.
He's coming up Siddha Loka.
Yeah. Siddha Loka. No, his name is Siddhartha.
Oh,
Translation.
Siddha.
From the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he kept them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. It shows how an advanced devotee is thinking. This verse gives us an understanding of how they are feeling also. When they look at the entire world and they are from their point of view, because this is how the Mahabhagavad feels. They are full of affection and love for all living entities. And so, that's the vision of a pure devotee. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, after that verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that a fully Krishna conscious person, although situated in this material world, does not see anything but Krishna anywhere and everywhere. This is a sign of a Mahabhagavata. The Mahabhagavata sees Krishna everywhere because of his attitude of pure love for Krishna. Okay. And of course, they also have, Prabhupada quotes from Brahma Samhita, the verse Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochenena, that because of that love, they see, with that love, they can see Krishna everywhere, like that. Now, we don't get many Mahabhagavatas, very rare, like Srila Prabhupada. Once in a while, we are very fortunate. Like then you are able to see them and so on. And so Prabhupada writes also, it is sometimes said that when one is influenced by evil stars, like Saturn, Rahu or Ketu, cannot make advancement in any prospective activity. Right? People say, right? Astrology, they'll say if you have all these things. So he's comparing that kind of situation with Sri Prahlad. In just the opposite way, Prahlad Maharaj was influenced by Krishna, the supreme planet. And thus he could not think of the material world and live without Krishna consciousness. And again, Prabhupada says, that is the sign of Mahabhagavata, or a pure devotee. Okay. Now, in the next paragraph, Prabhupada then gives some further understanding of this Mahabhagavatas. Prahlad Maharaj is the approved Mahabhagavata, the supreme devotee. He's one of the Mahajans. In the previous verse, it is stated that he had natural attachment, naisargiki ratihi. Remember, I was mentioning to you all, naturally he was so attractive. Not like all of us, we have to do sadhana bhakti to get it. And there are also no guarantee if you don't do properly. The symptoms of such natural attachment for Krishna are described in this verse. Although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, he had no interest in playing. So you can also see some children have no interest in playing. They may play something else. King Vena, when he was a boy, he was playing what?
Killing.
Yeah, he's killing other boys.
Hurting people.
Hurting insects, animals. So you can see that is not that's a demonic quality, not a devotional quality. Here, Prahlad Maharaj is more interested in thinking of Krishna, chanting of Krishna. So one of the things is, Prabhupada quotes from the 11th canto. This verse is actually spoken by the Nava Yogendras to King Nimit. So he says, Virakti Ranyatra Cha. The symptom of perfect Krishna consciousness is that one loses interest in all material activities. Okay? They don't see any more material things. Now, what it means here is one who is attracted to Krishna on this level, they have these three things that are constant. They have devotion to Krishna, and then they have direct perception of Krishna, and they are detached from material things. So these three things are, it occurs very immediately for them, simultaneously, because they have completely taken shelter of Krishna. So that is what Virakti Anyatra Cha. They have all these qualities like that. They have no more interest in material things. So comparing that to Prahlad Maharaj, who's only how old? 5 years only. He just started Gurukul only. So for a small boy to give up playing is impossible, Prabhupada says. But Prahlad Maharaj, being situated in first-class devotional service, was always absorbed in a trance of Krishna consciousness. So he was playing hide and seek with Krishna, not with ordinary boys and girls like that. Just as a materialistic person is always absorbed in thoughts of material gain, a Maha Bhagavata like Prahlad Maharaj is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna 24/7. Wait, I didn't say, no. I say 24/7 means 24 hours, 7 days.
You started reciting 24 chapters, 7 verse.
No, I like your enthusiasm. I think we should all be like that. You know, because that's part of our problem in this in our society. We don't read Prabhupada's books enough, and we don't chant his books enough. I think daily you all should read. Make it a plan in your life that every day you give at least half an hour to read Prabhupada's books. That's minimum. Actually, you all should read more. Grihasthas should read at least 2-3 hours a day.
Probably.
No, honestly, Prabhupada was practicing like that. So he set the standard. So we have to follow. And he chanted his 16 rounds also. So you should think like that. Text 38.
Oh, before that,
Wait.
Sorry, Sidhu. One more minute. So before that, there was a line saying that a person is also influenced by Rahu, Ketu, and Saturn. And
That's in astrology. Yeah.
But then astrology is something we can control, right?
This is from previous life and karma and so on. Yeah. Now, it's a comparison to say ordinary people are affected with those things. But Prahlad is affected by Krishna. So the planet that rules him is Krishna. That's the comparison Srila Prabhupada is making. It's a beautiful comparison.
Basically, you're saying that ignore even if there is something like that on our heads. We just have to ignore those evil stars and
if you focus on Krishna, then those stars cannot affect you. Your karma will change because Krishna will arrange something else for you. Yeah, like that. Okay, take it away.
Asina Paryatanayan
Asina Paryatanayan
Sayana Prakriban Bhuvan
Sayana Prakriban Bhuvan
Nanu Sandalatai नानुसन्धातयेतानि
नानुसन्धातयेतानि
गोविन्दापरिरम्भिता.
Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna. That always means satatam, continuously.
24/7.
24/7. Don't start him. So he's always absorbed in thought of Krishna. Thus, being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking and talking were being automatically performed. So he's so absorbed that he didn't know how those things are going on. So in the Papa Srila Prabhupada writes very nicely in this paragraph, a small child, while being cared for by his mother, does not know how the needs of the body for eating, sleeping, lying down, passing water and evacuating are being fulfilled. He's simply satisfied to be on the lap of his mother. So this is a comparison. So don't say Prahlad Maharaj did all these things. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was exactly like a small child being cared for by Govinda. So he's continuously absorbed in Govinda. So everything happened automatically. Of course, the nursemaids or his mother did everything, but he wasn't thinking of those things. He was just continuously absorbed in thinking of Krishna. The necessary activities of his body were performed without his knowledge. As a father and mother care for their child, Govinda cared for Prahlad Maharaj, who remained always absorbed in thoughts of Govinda. This is Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj is a vivid example of perfection in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is giving us a window and understanding of how a pure devotee is thinking. Don't worry, he's a child or whatever. This is also how Prabhupada is thinking.
So Prabhuji, practically, how do we understand this absorption in Krishna consciousness? For example, like in Arjuna was also absorbed by fighting, but that absorption is to serve, right?
So you start like that. When you're chanting, you have to develop a devotion of chanting. It means with an affection to please Krishna. I think most of us do it mechanically. So that means you're not absorbed in the thoughts of Govinda. The chanting should be for the pleasure of the Lord, so that affection should be there. I'm chanting for the Lord, that the feeling should be there. So that's how you start in your sadhana practice, or ultimately coming to this platform. Just like Arjuna was fighting to please Krishna. So because he was doing it as a service for Krishna, he was all purified. It's the same in your life. Your children are your service for Krishna also. You serve them because they are not yours, they still belong to Krishna. So therefore you're serving the devotees of Krishna like that. So the thought should be like, you cannot be possessive, rather you should see them as someone you can serve. It's easy, you're given a child to serve for Krishna rather than looking for Krishna. You serve them and please Krishna. That's one way of looking at it that way. And then whatever you give, then you give your fruits of your labor as an offering, as a sacrifice to Krishna. Of course, you can't give everything because you have a life in this material world. So give or take what you need and what you don't need. Simplify your lifestyles. You may have a nice house, but you want a $1.2 million house right there. So that's not simplifying. You just stay where you are. Downsize. You don't need too many things. You pay more for property tax, right? So downsize, you pay less. You save more. So serve Krishna more like that. Yeah. Text 39. Tulsi.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kvachidrudati Vaikuntha.
Kvachidrudati Vaikuntha.
Chinta Sabala Chetana.
Chinta Sabala Chetana.
Kvachid Dasati Tachinta.
Kvachid Dasati Tachinta.
Lada Udgayati Kvachid.
Lada Udgayati Kvachid.
Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried. This is another symptom. of pure devotion. Sometimes he laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. So again, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada compares to the devotee to a child. Okay. So like when he misses his mother, he'll cry. When he's hungry, he'll cry. All those things. And when he's satisfied, he's happy like that. So then in the middle of the paragraph, Srila Prabhupada explains, when an exalted devotee feels that Krishna is invisible, having gone away, he cries in separation. And sometimes when he sees that Krishna has returned to care for him, he laughs. Just as a child sometimes laughs upon understanding that his mother is taking care of him. Now this symptom are also very similar to how the gopis are feeling. Very exalted. Krishna goes, he went to Mathura, they started crying in separation. Yeah? Like that. These symptoms are called bhava. In the nectar of devotion, various bhavas, ecstatic conditions of the devotee, are fully described. These bhavas are visible in the activities of a perfect devotee. Okay, text 40.
Nadati Quachidutkanto
Nadati Quachidutkanto
Vilajo Nityati Quachit Tad Bhavana Yukta Tanmayo Nuchakaraha.
Sidhu, next one you do. Okay?
Okay.
And then Tulsi, you all go round. You want to do also? No. Okay. All right, translation. Sometimes upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. These are all ecstatic symptoms. He sometimes lost his shyness in jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy. And sometimes, being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. Okay, that oneness is not Mayavadi oneness, it's oneness in spirituality. Okay, in the purport, in the middle of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes here, the feelings of Prahlad Maharaj were in the mellow of Vatsalya, filial love and affection. So Prahlad Maharaj is showing the Vatsalya rasa. Okay, so you know now what his rasa is. As a child cries when left by his mother, when Prahlad Maharaj felt that Lord was far away from him, he began to cry. Nadati. Again, a devotee like Prahlada sometimes sees that the Lord is coming from a long distance to pacify him, like a mother responding to a child, saying, "My dear child, do not cry, I am coming." A couple of lines again, Prabhupada writes, thus the devotee in full ecstasy sometimes imitates the pastimes of the Lord. Right? Sometimes they will do some pastime. Or like the gopis also, they start speaking about Krishna's pastimes. In the same way, they are so absorbed in the pastime, they will talk about the pastime, or they even act the pastime like that. Just as the cowherd boys used to imitate the behavior of the jungle animals. However, he does not actually become the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj achieved the spiritual ecstasies described herein by his advancement in spiritual understanding. Okay. The oneness means absorption in Krishna. Well, that means in spiritual oneness, not that they are one entity like in Mayavad. Text 41.
Vachas Utkulakastusmim Aste Samskarsha Nirvrita Aspanda Pranayananda Salila Militekshana.
Sometimes, feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent. His hair standing on end and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. It is said that the touch of the Lord's hand is very cooling. Just like the lotus feet, it's very cooling. How many moon like? Huh? Yes, Koti Chandra Sushitala. Sushitala means cool lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So like that, the Supreme Lord's hands are also cooling. So sometimes, I think in one, I can't remember now, but the Lord will, yes, I remember now. when Krishna is fighting with Jambavan in the cave, after 21 days they fight, and then finally Jambavan recognizes that this must be Supreme Lord. Because usually he's so powerful, he knows who can actually beat him up. So then he recognizes. So when after he offers the prayer, the Lord touches him, and then he gets relieved of all the stress of fighting and so on. So it's like that. So similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands.
What is the temperature over there, bro?
Where? In which?
In Goloka.
I don't know. It's you want to know? Really?
I mean, generally, are there seasonal changes?
Yes, there are, but it's perfect temperature.
70, no need of jackets.
No need jacket. Anytime is perfect.
81.
Even when it snows, you don't need this. Yeah,
81 degrees of you.
that's your perfect thing. So according to your perfection, you will experience it that way. Krishna will arrange for you. Yeah. Text 42.
Sa uttama shloka padara vindayo.
Sa uttama shloka padara vindayo.
Nishevaya kinchana sangalabdaya.
Nishevaya kinchana sangalabdaya.
Tanvan param nirvitam atmano mur.
Tanvan param nirvitam atmano mur.
Dusangadinasya manasamam yada.
Dusangadinasya manasamam yada.
Because of his association with perfect, unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features, when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. Just imagine, this is the impact of a pure devotee. So if you are around them, it will affect you. Yeah? Consciously, you will be purified. It is said that when there's a pure devotee, he affects the upper, middle, and lower planetary system sometimes, if they are very powerful. Otherwise, they will affect maybe up to 800 miles around them. But in general, they will affect. Yeah. So similarly, you'll find that if you are seriously following and preaching, you will find people will accept what you say. Because it's not you, it's the Lord's mercy that is coming through. Right? So you become like a via media of the Lord's love, like that. So therefore they get attracted. So the same way, when the other students in the class were associating Prahlad, and when he started speaking the philosophy, they became all devotees like that. Yeah. Just because he had the mercy of his guru. Who is his guru? Narada Muni. Yeah. So nothing can touch him. He's already perfected being, so nothing material can touch him. Because they also not interested in anything material, which is what the verse is all about. Yeah. Okay. Text 43.
Tasmin Mahabhagavate.
Tasmin Mahabhagavate.
Mahabhagye Mahatmani.
Mahabhagye Mahatmani.
Hiranyakashipu Rajan.
Hiranyakashipu Rajan.
Akarodagamatmaje.
Akarodagamatmaje.
My dear King Yudhishthira, the demon Hiranyakashipu tormented this exalted, fortunate devotee, although Prahlada was his own son. So now you can see, it doesn't matter to a demon whether it's their son or not. All they are worried about is their Huh? Ego? What else?
Their supremacy.
Their supremacy,
Their position.
their position. Huh?
They don't want anybody to defeat them.
They don't want anyone to defeat them. What else? Hmm?
They don't want anybody to worship other people.
To worship other people. Yeah, that's true. They always want to be the best. Or
No, they want to be the only people who are worshipped.
they want to be the only people to be worshipped. Okay. So he could not handle that Prahlad was worshipping Vishnu and not him. And not just here, Vishnu. He was worshipping his enemy. So that's why he got very angry. Right. So here in the Purport, Srila Prabhupada says Hiranyakashipu was teasing a devotee. So I was interested. Prabhupada used the word tease. This is the second time he used the word tease, the Hiranyakashipu. More like the guy was torturing his son. So you can see he doesn't care. He would kill
The
him.
first verse is when Vishnu actually says, if somebody teases my,
Prabhupada says
the
tease.
same thing.
Yeah. So Prabhupada uses tease in both situations. So I found that interesting. Yeah. Text 44.
Shri Yudhishthira Vacha
Shri Yudhishthira Vacha
Devarcha etad ichamo
Devarsha Etad Ichamo
Veditum tava suvrata
Veditum Tava Suvrata
Yad atmajaya sudaya
Yadamajaya Sudaya
Pita dat sadave yagam
Pitadat Sadaveyam.
Maharaj Yudhishthira said, O best of the saints among the demigods, O best of spiritual leaders, how did Hiranyakashipu give so much trouble to Prahlad Maharaj, the pure and exalted saint? Although Prahlad was his own son, I wish to know about this subject from you. I mean, anyone who reads will want to know why a father would want to kill a 5-year-old son, Something must be wrong. So Yudhishthira was also curious. And of course, who best to ask but Narada Muni? Oh, he's there and might as well take advantage of a pure devotee. So therefore, he asks him to please tell me. Because Narada Muni is situated in spirituality, and if you hear from him, you will get the spiritual benefit. And therefore, he calls him Suvrata. Yeah.
Oh, question. So Narada Muni
Yes.
instructed when he was in the womb, right? But then now he's in contact with physical contact with Prahlad Maharaj. It's just only instructions through.
He already gave him the instructions.
Okay.
Yeah. But Prahlad didn't forget the instructions. He remembers everything. He remembers his guru very nicely. Text 45.
Putram vipita kulan swam
Putram Viprati Kulan Swam
Pitara putra vatsala
Pitara Putra Vatsala
Upala bante sukshritam
Upadavande Shishrantam
Naivagam aparoyata
Naivadam Aparoyata.
A father and mother are always affectionate to their children. When the children are disobedient, the parents chastise them, not due to enmity, but only for the child's instruction and welfare. How did Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad Maharaj, chastise such a noble son? This is what I am eager to know. Tulsi, can you read the translation again?
A father and mother are always affectionate to their children.
Slow down.
When the children are disobedient, the parents chastise them, not due to enmity, but only for the child's instruction and welfare. How did Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad Maharaja, chastise such a noble son? This is what I am eager to know.
Advaita, read that again, loudly.
A father and mother are always affectionate to their children. When the children are disobedient, the father chastises.
Hey, that's not fun.
Told the truth.
Read again. A father
and mother are always affectionate to
Hey, slow down.
A father and mother are always affectionate to their children.
Hey, read again. Read again.
A father and mother are always affectionate to their children. When the children are disobedient, the parents chastise them. Not due to enmity, but only for the child's instruction and welfare. How did Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad Maharaj, chastise such a noble son? This is what I'm eager to know.
Now you know? Yeah. Text 46.
Kim utanu
That's okay. Kim mutanu vasan sadhu.
Sadrishan Guru Devatan. Esat Kautuhalam Brahman. Ashmakam Vidama Prabhu. Vituputraya Yadvesho. Maranaya Prayojita.
Maharaj Yudhishthira further inquired, how was it possible for a father to be so violent toward an exalted son who was obedient, well behaved, and respectful to their father? O Brahmana, O Master, I have never heard of such a contradiction as an affectionate father's punishing his noble son with the intention of killing him. Kindly dissipate our doubts in this regard.
Oh, you have a question?
Wait, so Prabhupada says in the history of human society, an affectionate father is rarely found to chastise a noble and devoted son. So therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj had a question. How is that possible? Thus, in the Bhakti and the purpose of 7th Canto 4th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. Okay, what's your question?
My question is why did my question was why did Maharaj Yudhishthira say kindly dissipate our doubts in this regard?
Yeah,
Not his doubts.
that is, he speaks in a third person.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why our doubts.
Royal address.
Huh?
Royal way of addressing.
Royal way, yes, it's true. They usually address in the third person. That's the high class way of saying. Not my. They don't say my. That's ego. So they say our problem. Yeah. Okay, so the 5th chapter, Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. So after the boy has been told to study properly, we'll see what happens. Text 1.
Sri Narada Uvacha Paurohityaya Bhagavan Vritta Kavya Kilasurai Sandamarka Sutau Tasya Daitya Raja Grahantike.
The great saint Narada Muni said, the demons headed by Hiranyakashipu accepted Sukracharya as their priest for ritualistic ceremonies. Sukracharya's 2 sons, Shanda and Amarka, lived near Hiranyakashipu's palace. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes a very interesting statement. He says in the middle of that purport, a Brahmana should become the priest of a person interested in the advancement of spiritual culture. That means a Brahmana should not become a priest for people who are materialistic. But nowadays in Kali Yuga, it's all upside down. No? They do it because even the Brahmana wants the materialism. So then he says, Sukracharya means, Sukra means seminal, within the family like that, materially. A person interested in obtaining benefits for his sons and descendants, regardless of how the money comes. So you have to be careful where the money is coming. So, for example, if you work for the gambling industry, then it's coming from all people's gambling. If you work for the liquor industry, then so many people's life are ruined by your effort, indirectly or directly, like that. So, Prabhupada's point is a real Brahmana would not become a priest for atheistic men. Now, so how do you guide? Who to guide? The devotees. The devotees should guide those who are innocent and interested, okay, in spiritual life. Not simply because we think we can get something from some money, like Prabhupada says. We should be careful. If you know how to use the money carefully, that's okay. Otherwise, you will have problems. Okay, just like the Chanda and Amarka are going to face some problems. Hiranyakashipu is very willing to kill people.
And you might throw them.
Yes.
So probably then, like how the preaching can be done, because all of them are not devotees, right? You don't know how.
I just said innocent and interested.
Open-minded.
Yeah. You're not going to go to people who are not interested. You can't preach to people who are not interested, right? You have to only preach to people who are interested. So how do you make yourself avail? You go on Harinam or you go out on book distribution. Then you know who's innocent, who's favorable. You hold functions in the temple, festivals, so that will attract people who are interested, at least interested. Then you can talk to them. Yeah. That is the process Srila Prabhupada indicates. Yeah. Otherwise, how? Not everyone is going to take it up. But we offer them freely. Then those who are interested, they'll take it up. Yeah. But not for the wrong reason. The point with the Sukracharya and his sons, they were doing it for the economy. Yeah. They want something from them. So if you're going out to preach to a millionaire because you want some money from him, then it's not preaching. You just want his money. But if you're going out to give him the goal of life, then yes, then that's preaching. Text 2.
Taurajna prapitam balam
Taurajna prapitam balam
prahaladam nayakovidam patayam asatupatyan anyam cha surabalakan.
Prahlad Maharaj was already educated in devotional life, but when his father sent him to those two sons of Sukracharya to be educated, they accepted him at their school along with the other sons of the Asuras. So this is the school for the Asuras, atheists. Text 3.
Yatatra guruna proktam Shushruve papatacha Nasadu manasamene Swaparasad Prahlada certainly heard and recited the topics of politics and economics taught by the teachers. But he understood that political philosophy involves considering someone a friend and someone else an enemy. And thus he did not like it. So it's interesting. Politics means
You have to have friends and enemies.
someone you brand them as friend or you brand them as enemy. Not necessarily they are your friend or not friend. So Prabhupada writes, politics involves accepting one group of men as enemies, another group as friends. Everything in politics is based on this philosophy. And the entire world, especially at the present, is engrossed in it, right? So, North Korea is enemy, Iran, Iraq is enemy, right? Like that. The public is concerned with friendly countries. Oh, England, France. But from the point of view from the other countries, we are the enemies. And friendly groups or enemy countries and enemy groups, ISIS, like that. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita, a learned person does not make distinctions between enemies and friends. Here, learned person means someone who has very advanced in their consciousness. Samadarshana. Okay. Or you can say Mahabhagavat like that. But Madhyam Adhikaris, they have to make distinction, so then they can preach. Devotees especially do not create friends and enemies. So therefore, this is another criteria. If we are going to call ourselves devotees, then we should not be calling some people friend and some people enemies. We can say they are not favorable. That's all. You know? These people are favorable like that. A devotee sees that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna. So therefore, if they are not favorable, we give them prasadam. We should give them. So that will make them favorable later on. They'll say, at least they give me something to eat. Yeah. I think there was one incident where devotee was doing books. And this guy would stand behind and always say bad things. Whoever come to take the book, he'll say something bad. But the devotee was always speaking the philosophy and then would give him something to eat, like a cookie or something. He'll eat the cookie and still say bad things. But after a while, he stopped speaking. He stopped saying bad things. He would come stand behind the devotee and he started to listen. And then after some time, maybe he started saying, okay, what's in the book? Show me. So these are interesting things that happen in our society. But this is how a devotee is. He's always they're friends to everyone.
Actually, we see this all the time in Seattle. One person will say no to the book, and one more devotee will stand on the other side and give him something to eat.
Yeah.
Cookie or burrito. They eat that, they come back and take the book. And
yeah, because they feel their heart changed. These people are okay. Let's see what they have. Right? So therefore, devotee treats friends and enemies equally by trying to educate them both in Krishna consciousness. So with the friends, we give them books and educate. With the enemies, we show favorably to them, act nicely to them, treat them.
Yesterday, some American person came.
Yeah.
And he was going up, middle of the class, he was going away, and he was in the showroom. He was asking me what happened. He said he didn't like that class, something. And I asked him, you want to eat something? So I packed something. As soon as I gave us something, he started crying. Crying for almost 5 minutes. I don't know why, but.
And what did you say?
We just do anything. We just give prasadam and we just give some water and give a chair to sit in. And
yeah, that's good. You should always say, don't worry, it's okay. We're friends here. We'll take care. Yeah, that's good. You see, just by your act, the guy didn't think he would be treated nicely. He probably came there angry of the whole world, and then he was listening to who's this God? Why I have to surrender? And so when you treated him, he's thinking, nobody has treated him, gave him prashadam. Probably he never got treated like that. Yeah, so that's why we should. This is very good instruction for all of us. We should treat friends and enemies equally. Right? If your enemy comes to your home, what do?
give him water.
Yeah, make him a seed, give him a glass to drink, and give him full prasad. The best prasad.
Traditionally, also there is Atithi Deva Bhava.
Yeah, that's right. So you have to do that,
Even in Mahabharata war, right?
Yes.
Right, like
After
Duryodhana, and after the war is done, they are actually like
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day,
they all have the prasadam together. Yeah. Yeah. So those cultures is gone, but we can still practice the culture properly. Prabhupada continues, of course, atheistic men do not follow the instructions of pure devotees, but instead consider a devotee their enemy. So therefore, you have to be careful when you deal with them. If they are very nasty and angry, you should just apologize and move on, like that. A devotee, however, never creates a situation of friendship and enmity. Although Prahlad Maharaj was obliged to hear the instructions of Shanda and Amarka, he did not like the philosophy of friends and enemies, which forms the basis of politics. He was not interested in this philosophy. Once you are a devotee, you are not interested in any philosophy. It must be like that. Otherwise, if you are not fixed in that, someone else will say something and you'll accept that. Then you have a problem. Right? You should be so fixed that only Krishna consciousness should be in your heart. Yeah.
So he was a Kshatriya though.
Who?
Prahlad
Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Yeah. But you'll see the basis of even the Kshatriya's activities is based on Shastra, or how to please Krishna. It's not to be friend or enemy, not like that. The king is a Vaishnava Kshatriya, even if they conquer, they're doing it for the welfare of the people he's conquering. Like that. So that is the politics. That's the right politics, not the current politics that's going on, calling the other person, evil names or stupid things, all kinds of crazy things they do nowadays. Text 4.
Ekada Suraratputram Angam Aropya Pandava Prachap Katyatam Vatsa Manyate Sadhu Yad Bhavan.
My dear King Yudhishthira, once upon a time, the king of demons, Hiranyakashipu, took his son Prahlad on his lap and very affectionately inquired, "My dear son, please let me know what you think is the best of all the subjects you have studied from your teachers." So he is a proud father. He wants to know how the son is doing in the Gurukul. So it's a very simple question, very easy to answer. So he wants to know what is the best thing. Some of you ask, right, what is your favorite topic? What is your favorite subject? So Prahlad Maharaj, of course, he's a pure devotee, so he only sees Krishna and everything. So his answer didn't please his father. Text 5, we'll find out what he said.
Shri Prahladu Vacha Tatsadu Manye Suravarya Dehinam Sada Samudvegnadiyam Ashadgrahat Vatma Patam Grahamandakopam Vanam Gatoya Darimashrayate
Prahlad Maharaj replied, "O best of the Asuras, king of the demons." So, they didn't mind being known as the best Asura Varya. They are proud to be Asuras. O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, means Asuras also. As far as I've learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there's no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavana, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when the word Vanam Gato, Srila Prabhupada immediately said go to Vrindavana. So you can see how Srila Prabhupada also is pure devotee. He's always thinking of Krishna in Vrindavan. Now, here you see how he's answering his father. He's saying the life of a normal person, like a not a grihastha, like grihamedi, is just full of anxiety. And then he says this kind of life is considered to be a dark well. So therefore he says griham andakupam. So this is where the famous word comes from. Andakupam. Sometimes you hear devotees say, this is what it is. Andakupam means you fall into the well, there's no water, so nothing to do. You're stuck. So you can't come out also. So, so the main thing is we have to understand Prahlad has such a strong love for Krishna, or you can say faith of Krishna, that he's consistently thinking of how to please Krishna. He's not thinking of materially how to do things like that. So he wasn't interested in the what Amar and Amarka and Shanda. Yeah. Yeah. So in the purport, the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Vedic injunction is Asato ma sadgamaya. Everyone should give up the platform of temporary existence and approach the eternal platform. Because that is the goal of life for all of us. The soul is eternal, we know that. Topics concerning the eternal soul are actually knowledge. So what it means is anything else you are studying is not real knowledge. Okay. Krishna also says, right, in the 13th chapter, what is knowledge and what is not knowledge. Yeah. So it's like that. So knowledge means that you can connect with Krishna. Otherwise, it's useless knowledge.
Information.
Yeah. If the knowledge you learn even in school, if you use it in the service of Krishna, then it is valuable, or it becomes a good knowledge like that. Otherwise, it's not really what knowledge is all about. Elsewhere it is said, this is from the second canto, Apasyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Griha Medinam. That means they see everything temporary only, and they are trying to enjoy, attached to the bodily conception of life, and thus stick to life as that means they have so many things to talk about, and that's useless knowledge. And then it doesn't save them at the time of death. So that's why Prabhupada quotes that verse, Grihe Sugriha Medinam. So, but it is all based on sense enjoyment. And the person there, at the moment, he's thinking, all my family members are going to come and save me. But nobody will, even give him a second hearing when he is dying. They're just waiting when my husband will die. The wife will think, so at least I can use his all the money he didn't give me. Like that. Yeah, it's like that.
Very true, actually.
It's like that. There was a family where a father he's a billionaire, so he died. And he gave all the sons, he had 5 sons, all the money. He's a multi-billionaire. But the sons all start going to court case, saying this one wants more money than the other ones. So it was ridiculous, the whole case. So people are not interested in their parents or what. They say, okay, the guy died good, now where's my money? So in Krishna consciousness, we don't think like that. We think of the welfare of every living entity, whether they are parents or children. We are worried about how they can connect with Krishna. Okay. So otherwise, we will not see the welfare for the eternal soul. Srila Prabhupada also says, what is the real self-interest? Real self-interest should be what is the duty of the soul? What he should be doing? How to be connecting with Krishna? So if you stick to on the material sense enjoyment, then you cannot see the welfare of the eternal soul. Right? So immediately one should take up this understanding from the right sources, and that is real knowledge. How to save the soul. So like the Christians say, they say save the soul, like that. So we should be approaching that like that, not trying to go after material sense enjoyment. And then towards the end of that paragraph, Prabhupada says, everyone in the material world is in the bodily conception. They cannot understand they are spirit, soul, and part and parcel of Krishna. And because they are in the bodily conception, to live in this situation becomes very difficult. Because everyone is competing, right? Always there's big competition going on. Everyone's waiting to see who will lose their job, so that I can get the job, right? People are thinking like that always. Or the employer is thinking how I can lay off my senior employees because they are taking too much money. I can employ young people and they work 10 times more and get 10 times less pay. Like that. So it's struggling for hard existence, life after life. So he was telling his father, you already did so much already. Why don't you just retire and go to the forest? So guess what? If you're enjoying your sense enjoyment and someone tells you to stop enjoying how you feel without goal of life, you'll think, who are you to tell me? Just like if you're driving very nicely on the highway and somebody cuts in front of you and slams the brake, you get so angry, no? Who is it to? So you come out and use a baseball bat or something to break their windscreen and then you drive off. So that's how Hiranyakashipu is feeling, not happy. So he's telling his father, you should go and take up vanaprastha. Enough of your grihastha ashram. That's all. Yeah? And because what is the fault in being a grihastha? You all are grihasthas. Attachment, and then if you get too attached, you become what? You become? Huh? Yeah, okay, Grihamedi. You'll become Grihamedi, and then you become envious. Envious of
Other
other Grihasthas or Grihamedis.
And they'll use their kids as the.
And they will use their kids as
Instrument.
Aminations. Yeah, like that. So therefore he's saying, don't stay in the Grihastha ashram because you'll get more and more envious of Narayan Vishnu himself. So please take up Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore invite all the elderly persons of the world to come to Vrindavan and stay there in retired life, making advancement in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. As you can see, sometimes I see old people, they are walking, morning walk. Then I'm thinking, what is this morning walk they're going for? Where are they going for? They don't look happy. The weather here is cold, no?
If they don't go, the body becomes stiff.
I know.
They're trying to get
anyway, it's cold, no? You get preserved. So, so best you go to Vrindavan. That's the point here is once a certain you can only use your body to work until a certain time. It's going to shut down. So before it really shuts down, better to go and retire. That's the point. And then
what age you recommend?
What age you want?
40. The ladies.
So why not we should be in Vrindavan?
The ladies 35 years.
No, Sangeeta, what age you want?
I already gave an intro. I said 40 minutes we should be there.
Exactly.
Well, Prabhupada recommends 50. But you see what is suitable for you. If you see you have to marry your daughters away, then you tell them, I want to marry you by this age. If you don't get married, I'm out of this house. Yeah, that's how you should. So that's how it is. Yes, I
can record this and play this.
If you want to retire to Vrindavan or Mayapur,
you have to speak softly and you have to enunciate properly.
If you want to retire to holy places earlier, couldn't you retire when you're 30?
You started well and then you have marble in your mouth. So speak again. If you want
to retire,
stop, pause. Okay.
If you want to retire to a holy dham or a holy place in India or somewhere, couldn't you retire early?
Yes,
when 30.
You should, but you shouldn't be afraid of retiring.
Yeah. 35 or 30.
That is a standard for everything.
No, it's an opportunity to think now. At your age, you should think when you want to go to the Vrindavan, retire. You want to be a professor and so on. But you have to also know when you want to quit your professorship and go. Okay? All right, text 6.
Shri Narada Uvacha Shrutva Putra Giro Daitya
Parapa
Parapaksha Samahita
Parapaksha Samahita
Jahasa Buddhirva Balanam
Jahasa Buddhirvalanam
Vidyate Parabuddhivi.
Vidyate Parabuddhivi. Narada Muni continued, when Prahlada Maharaj spoke about the path of self-realization in devotional service, thus been faithful to the camp of his father's enemies, Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, heard Prahlada's words and he laughingly said, thus is the intelligence of children spoiled by the words of the enemy. He's angry, but he's laughing. Sometimes people laugh when they are very angry. So he's seeing that these young children are somehow contaminated. That's why he's saying the intelligence of children are spoiled by the words of the enemy. So he's thinking how this child is contaminated. That's his whole idea. He's very angry. At this point in time, he's not, not really angry as in wanting to kill his son yet, but he's wondering who has influenced his son. So, because children are innocent, he has that much understanding. So at this point in time, he's thinking someone taught the child wrong. So in the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Asura Baba, the atheistic nature, is directly represented by Hiranyakashipu. Such persons, being Mudha and Naradama, fools and rascals, the lowest of men, would never accept Vishnu as the supreme and surrender to him. So, Prabhupada says 95% in the book? 95%, right? 95% of the population is Naradamas. Right? So, how are you going to preach to them? So you have to behave in a way they see you as attractive. Not only that, and also you have to always give. People want free. Best thing to give them free is prasadam. If you give them free books, they will throw them. Yeah. So therefore, you have to see how to catch these people also. So continuing. Hiranyakashipu naturally became increasingly angry that his son Prahlad was being influenced by the camp of the enemies. He therefore asked that saintly persons like Narada not be allowed within the residential quarters of his son, for otherwise Prahlad would be further spoiled by Vaishnava instruction. So he understands association is important. So whether you're Asura or Devata, you should know association is important because you will be influenced, right? If you spend every day with someone who's always talking nonsense, so one day you will also talk nonsense. One time one devotee asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, how can we become a pure devotee? And Prabhupada said, how can you become a drunkard? Right? I mentioned this before. Then Prabhupada laughed and said, if you hang around with drunkards, you will be a drunkard. So you hang around with devotees. So if somebody always speaking bad about everything in life, then you, after a while, you'll think, yeah, he must be right. Even if it's not real, you will think it's like that. All you need is one or two incidents and you'll think, yeah, this is true. Yeah, he's Vyasadeva. He has revealed like that. So you hold on. So we have to know how to associate also. So sometimes if you feel compassionate to someone and you are associating, and if they constantly keep talking, you can tell them, I don't want this kind of topics. Let's talk something else. But every time the same topics comes up, then you should be very carefully excuse yourself. And that means you associate less with them. Or you give your association and not take association. So that is very important because this is what the Hiranyakashipu's issue is. Somebody has influenced my innocent child. Children are innocent, so they can be easily influenced. So therefore he's saying, must be my enemies. So they are making him go against me. Okay, yes.
Did Hiranyakashipu think Narada Muni was an enemy?
Yeah, that's why he says he cannot come close to my son. Don't come near the Gurukul. That's his point. Yeah. That's the reason why he told them, don't bring this, don't allow him. You know.
So the education system plays such a vital role in, because children are very innocent.
Yeah, so that's why Prabhupada says the modern education system is slaughterhouse. So that's why you should all have homeschooling. Otherwise, your children are getting all kinds of
Impressions.
like samskars means must be good impressions. But if you get bad impression, it's always there. It's very hard to
Remove it.
erase it. It's not possible actually. The impressions are so strong that it'll affect you possibly to the end of your life sometimes. So you have to expose your children to the right medium.
In the textbooks we studied, like the Big Bang Theory, we all studied. It took a while to actually not believe it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess it depends, how you see things. If you're fascinated by those topics, you think, oh, this is it. Yeah.
At least we heard about Big Bang. Now the textbooks are much worse.
Bigger bang.
So they talk about 8 genders now.
Oh, that will come. That is all.
Man, women, and then so many intermediate stages.
Actually, all these are there in Manu Samhita, Prabhu. Different type of genders and so on. How people are. All right, text 7.
Samyak vidaryatam balo.
Samyak vidaryatam balo.
Gurugehe dvijatibihi.
Gurugehe dvijatibihi.
Vishnu pakshaya pratichanne.
Vishnu pakshaya pratichanne.
Navidyatasya diryata.
Navidyatasya diryata.
Hiranyakashipu advised his assistants, my dear demons, give complete protection to this boy at the Gurukula where he is instructed so that his intelligence will not be further influenced by Vaishnavas who may go there in disguise. So, you can have undercover agents also.
Homeschooling.
So they make,
Yeah,
or they come in as dressed as demons and
And
walking.
they come dressed as guards. Or they come dressed as a student.
Exactly, they come as the student because the demigods can change forms just like the demons.
Or the teacher.
Yeah. So anyway, in the purport, it's a nice purport. Srila Prabhupada gives a few ways of dealing with the situations in the present society. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the tactic of dressing oneself like an ordinary karmi is necessary because everyone in the demoniac kingdom is against the Vaishnava teachings. He says his tactic. Krishna consciousness is not at all to the liking of the demons of the present age. As soon as they see a Vaishnava dressed in saffron garments with beads on his neck and tilak on his forehead, they are immediately irritated. They criticize the Vaishnavas by sarcastically saying Hare Krishna. And some people also chant Hare Krishna sincerely. In either case, since Hare Krishna is absolute, whether one chants it jokingly or sincerely, it will have its effect. The Vaishnavas are pleased when the demons chant Hare Krishna because this shows that the Hare Krishna movement is taking ground. The greater demons like Hiranyakashipu are always prepared to chastise the Vaishnavas, and they try to make arrangements so that Vaishnavas will not come to sell their books and preach Krishna consciousness. So they pass law. No selling in the street, no coming into the mall, no coming into the airport, all this law.
Well, they said no distributing on the street.
Yeah.
The streets are okay.
Now, some cities they don't know. You must have permit first, like that. Thus what was done, Prabhupada says, thus what was done by Hiranyakashipu long, long ago is still being done. Nothing has changed, just their smaller status, that's all. That is the way of materialistic life. Demons or materialists do not at all like the advancement of Krishna consciousness, and they try to hinder it in many ways. Yet the preachers of Krishna consciousness must go forward in their Vaishnava dress or any other dress. So first thing is try to go in your Vaishnava dress. Unless you wear a Vaishnava dress, then you will not have, you will not think you have faith. People will think if you don't wear, then they also think you don't actually have much faith in your own process. But if you have to wear the dress, then yeah, for the purpose of preaching. Chanukya Pandit says that if an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater also. Not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful. So like if I go to China, I can't go like that. No tilak, nothing. I have to grow my hair. Whatever can grow, I'll grow. And then I'll go in karmi clothing. Can't wear like that. Because they don't like that. So that's how Prabhupada is saying. Where you cannot, then okay. Then you can, for the purpose of preaching, you can do it. But otherwise, you wear Vaishnava dress. Because as soon as they see Vaishnava, they will know these people chant Hare Krishna. So they'll at least remember Hare Krishna. And so they will get purified like that. But if you are not dressed and then you are pushing a book, they'll think, what is this guy? Who is this guy? Like that. Yeah. But anyway, my point is, yeah, if you can do it, if not, it's okay. Text 8.
Braham Anitam Ahuya. Prapradam Daityayajasha. Prasasya Shlakshnaya Vacha. Samaprachanta Samabi.
When Hiranyakashipu's servants brought the boy Prahlada back to the Gurukula, the place where the Brahmanas taught the boys, the priests of the demons, Shanda and Amarka, pacified him. With very mild voices and affectionate words, they inquired from him as follows. So Prabhupada says they were nice to him because they want to find out who the spies were, who came to teach him all the Vaishnava philosophy. So sometimes you also talk nicely to your child. No? Like, yeah, I'll give you some ice cream. Tell me who came. Like that. What is it?
You can just tell a lie and you get the ice cream for free.
Yeah, there you go. You get ice cream. But you're lying though, then you have to have some karma for that. So they asked him very nicely to see who the Vaishnavas who came to teach him. Text 9.
Vatsa Praharada Badrante. Satyam Kataya Mamasha. Balan Atikuta Stogyam. Esha Buddhi Viparya.
Dear son, Prahlada, all peace and good fortune unto you. Kindly do not speak lies. Just reply with the truth. These boys you see are not like you, for they do not speak in a deviant way. How have you learned these instructions? How has your intelligence been spoiled in these ways? So they are saying, the other boys in this class, they are all learning the material knowledge, therefore they are okay. But you are speaking Vaishnava, therefore you are deviant. So you can see how it is. It's an opposite culture. So therefore, for them, anything that is Krishna conscious is deviant. And actually, this Brahmana shouldn't be talking like that. Right? What is the definition of Brahmana?
Brahmajanati.
Brahmajanati iti Brahmana. One who understands Brahman, he is Brahmana. Here these guys didn't, because they are all only interested in the economic things. They want to be safe. Oh, I can pay my bills, so I'm okay. So therefore they say, no, speak the truth, just tell us and everything will be okay. like that. That was the main thing. We were actually doing a FBI interrogation. Yeah, like that. That's what's happening. Police interaction. Sometimes in schools, the cops will come and get the students, and they're not supposed to do that without the parents around like that. There's a law like that. But you can see how it's coming from previous reading. Text 10.
Buddhiveda Parakrita
Buddhiveda Parakrita
Uta hote Soto Bhavat
Udahote Sato Bhavat
Banyatam Shotu Karmana Kamana
Banyatam Shotu Kamanam
Gurunam Kulanandana
Gurunam Kulanandana.
O best of your family, has this pollution of your intelligence been brought about by you or by the enemies? We are all your teachers and are very eager to hear about this. Please tell us the truth. So again, interrogation is going on. It seems that if the Vaishnavas were caught, they would have been killed by the father, Hiranyakashipu. Prabhupada says like that. They wanted to catch and kill him in front of Prahlad Maharaj. So they're really nasty. Text 11.
Shri Prahladu Vacha
Shri Prahladu Vacha
Paraswaschetya Arshadgraha
Paraswaschetya Arshadgraha
Pumsamyan Mayaya Krita
Pumsamyan Mayaya Krita
Vimohita Diyam Drishtas
Vimohita Diyam Drishtas
Tasmai Bhagavate Namah
Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha.
Prahlad Maharaj replied, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard of it from authoritative sources. So he's saying, I've heard about it. Now I'm seeing exactly what this nonsense is all about. Who is a friend and who's an enemy. I thought everyone is a spirit soul. Because, and that's the reason why Prabhupada quotes that verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampani, because someone who's very advanced is having a Samadarshan, sees everyone equally, a friend or an enemy. So therefore he quotes that verse to highlight the point that Prahlad Maharaj is saying. This is the first time I'm hearing that there's such a thing as enemy and friend. So in the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes, as servants of the Supreme Lord, all living entities are one. But a Vaishnava, because of his natural humility, addresses every other living entity as Prabhu, Master. A Vaishnava sees other servants to be so advanced that he has much to learn from them. Thus he accepts all other devotees of the Lord as Prabhus or masters. Although everyone is a servant of the Lord, one Vaishnava servant, because of humility, sees another servant as his master. So that is the mood that Srila Prabhupada also wants us to cultivate in our dealings with each other. When we serve with one another, one person will take the lead, so we will see them as our Prabhu, like that. If the other person is following us, then they will see us as Prabhu. So that's one of the reasons why we call each other Prabhus like that. Okay, and to understand these things, we have to understand it in Guru Parampara, particularly through the spiritual master's blessings. Otherwise, we will misunderstand and misrepresent the teachings based on our own concoctions like that. Otherwise, we also end up thinking we are all one, like the Mayavaris. I'm also spirit, you are spirit, so we are all spirits. But there's a problem in that. Oneness is not like that. Oneness is that we are all eternal servants. In that sense, we are all one as servants, serving the Supreme Personality in spiritual connection.
So for devotees who are relatively newer, still we have to see them as Prabhus.
Which?
The people who are who came later than us into Krishna consciousness, or maybe our students. Or, so still the same mode.
Yes. Because you see, as long as you're still performing bhajana kriya, you're still in the Kanishta platform. So once you have, once you finish Anartha Nivriti, then at Nistha is Madhyamadhikara. So you know yourself where you are at. So better to be a servant than a master. Yeah, that is a fact. If you are a servant, it's easier. You don't have too much headaches. Master must make sure everything is okay. So the paragraph after that, Srila Prabhupada writes, as long as one adheres to the philosophy of duality, thinking one person a friend, another an enemy, he should be understood to be in the clutches of Maya. That means materialistically thinking. The Mayavadi philosopher who thinks that all living entities are God and are therefore one is also mistaken. No one is equal to God. The servant cannot be equal to the master. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, the master is one and the servants are also one. But the distinction between the master and servant must continue even in the liberated stage. No such thing as joining or combining and becoming one. That is my philosophy. What is that? Eko Bhagana Vidadati Kama. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanya Chaitanya. So there already in the Upanishad is very clear. There's among all the eternals, there's one supreme eternal who is maintaining the other eternals. Alright. So we will stop here. Text 12 is a long one.
Oh, that's long. That's huge.
At least a few verses long. Yeah. Comments? Yes, Advaita.
The class ended early.
Huh?
The class ended early.
Class ended because the next verse is too long. I probably need an hour just to stop on that verse.